Hey there folks, and welcome back to the Gunners Guild. Now typically I do Monster Hunter and Remnant build videos and information and stuff like that, but as you can guess by titles and clips, I'm spending more time in Mycopunk these days, and so I'm kind of gross into it, and I really want this game to take off, so might as well provide some content. While it is still early access and just launched like a week ago, there's plenty of content to go over, so we're going to start the builds early, and anyway, let's just go ahead and get into this. Now, I do want to start with something that's not actually a build, it's just super OP and broken, and I want to get eyes on it, so hopefully it gets nerfed. I know, I'm a buzzkill. But the Carver is the most overpowered weapon in this game, hands down. With one mod, you literally become immortal, because you get 1% damage reduction per stack of blood, and it's really easy to sit on 200 stacks of blood, giving you damage immunity, as well as ample time to switch off the Carver, because the blood stacks will stay on, and use something else, and just, kill stuff while the blood stacks slowly tick down. That being said, the Carver itself does do very solid damage and can clear packs of enemies on its own, no problem. As you can see here in these clips, I'm literally immortal. And this is not a build because it doesn't require anything, just this one little upgrade on this weapon, so it works for everything with everything. But while it's still busted, you can use it to farm the weekly quest for mods and experience. But while we're here, I do want to propose a few nerfs for the chainsaw so that we can actually start using it without feeling like cheating. First is that we could limit the blood stacks to 90 and then compensate that by having them drop the stacks slower so you can hold on to blood longer. This would limit some of the other mods that rely on blood stacks, so they could kind of get a buff as well, but we would be limited to 90% damage reduction, which is still absolutely insane for sure. The other thing that could be done is just change the value of the damage resistance mod from 1% per stack to 0.4% per stack, so you'd cap around 84% damage reduction with max blood stacks and then slowly lose it from there. Which I think is fair, to be honest, and you wouldn't require like touching up of any other mods itself. But regardless, like I said, something just has to be done about the Carver. It can't continue existing in this state. Immortality is never something that should be achievable. So yeah, that's the Carver. Abuse it while you can, but I really hope it gets patched soon. Let's get on to the actual builds. I'm going to do one per video. So I'd like to preface these by stating that the intention of my builds, is pretty much all of them going forward, is that they're intended to be able to take on level 6 solo missions with minimal risk. Maybe you'll die here or there, some unlucky bomb spawn or something, but you should be able to do them just fine. But they also should be able to support party play without needing to swap upgrades between single player or multiplayer play, mostly because I just don't want to make 2 sets for every build because you would have to change a couple things around. So there will be some upgrades that are not useful for solo play, and you can swap out of those and change stuff around, so please don't think these are absolutely min-max builds for specific situations. They're just kind of general utility builds that I use. I also don't have all the upgrades yet, so maybe in the future when we get some updates and maybe some more tweaks, when some more content drops, I can fine-tune them some more, but we'll get around to that. But anyway, sorry about the preamble. I feel like I need to be as clear as possible though, so people don't misconstrue. But anyway, let's just get into this. And in this video, I do want to showcase here my Ignition Wrangler. It's a fire-based Wrangler setup. It's suitable for all content, like I said. It has great survivability and works very well in solo or group play. The main focus of this build is going to be around the shotgun and the fire grenade, but we do have synergies all over. First, let's start with the fire grenade because that's kind of what the entire build revolves around. The exotic upgrade for the fire grenade, internal combustion, allows us to self-immolate a bunch of times and then explode, dealing fire damage to all nearby enemies and healing ourselves with it. You do want higher efficiency as it will help generate more stacks of combustion per immolate tick. This grenade mod is what's going to help us do damage and stay alive in sticky situations. Now we're also going to get significantly more healing from this grenade with the 2 mods that provide us health on grenade use as well as health to players who are hit with this grenade because we're going to throw it at ourselves, which does stack on the user, so you basically get a full HP bar every time you hit yourself with your grenade. To get more grenades, we're going to be using heatsink, which allows us to get chunks of our grenade back every time we immolate ourselves. And since we're going to be self-immolating when we hit ourselves with our own grenade and with the shotgun, we're going to be using give and take to significantly increase our outgoing fire damage. Two's Company also gives us a second grenade, always a plus. And then we're going to be using fire gel to reduce our self damage because we're going to be hurting ourselves a lot in this build. And then lastly, we're going to have napalm to increase all of our outgoing fire damage to more for more synergies. And this is kind of the bread and butter here. A lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing passes through this grenade. Next, let's talk about the Jackrabbit. This is going to be our primary weapon that synergizes with the fire grenade very well. The shotgun does fire damage when it bounces, so we're going to need to aim at the floors and walls often to guarantee that fire damage. But we're also going to be fixing that with the exotic perk Immolator, hence the build name. This allows us to apply fire to ourselves whenever we ignite an enemy, and then that gives us 9 seconds of immolator, which grants us infinite ammo and ignites ourselves too. While immolator is active, we always deal fire damage, so we don't necessarily need to bounce with it anymore. The self damage is going to help fuel our fire grenade as well, so you can kind of see where this whole build's going. It's a lot of self fire, and we're recycling shotgun ammo back into the grenade. The other exotic perk here on the shotgun is the pummeler, which allows us to charge up our shotgun and rapidly fire the entire clip. And since we're going to have infinite ammo during immolator, we can constantly dump shells without reloading nor running out of ammo, which is a great, for our DPS uptime. The rest of the upgrades here are to support the style of gameplay with all the self-fire and applying ignites. So we're going to have power ricochet for another bounce, which allows for just more random ignites on nearby enemies by chance. Not amazing, but it helps. Reactive coating to always apply fire on cores, which again isn't mandatory, but it does allow you to finish off abominations and bigger enemies that kind of float and stuff without needing to set up an immolator, which can be annoying as they can be up pretty high. So it's quality of life thing really. Then we're going to have heavy and melting point for more fire damage, which allows us to get ignites on in fewer hits. And then we're going to use stand the heat to grant us 10 ammo every time we activate immolator, which unfortunately doesn't actually give us a bigger clip for pummeler for some reason. Maybe that's a bug. But it does allow us to use pummeler when immolator falls off and not have to, lose our ammo and, reload that point because, we're going to have this extra mag on us basically. And then we're going to have 2 shell packer upgrades for more pellets to increase our pellet count from 6 to 8, which will increase our fire application and our bounces, and it's just going to cover more ground. The shotgun is going to be our main damage dealer for the setup and can be used on small trash, large packs, and abominations alike. With the infinite ammo, it's rarely going to be swapped off ever. It's just kind of your workhorse, but you should get another weapon for longer range just in case, because it's not really good for anything past 5 or 10 feet. So speaking of, for a secondary weapon, I'm going to be using the cycler, because honestly, it's just a workhorse. It's not the best gun in pretty much any situation, but it does work great in every situation. I use it for dealing with long range enemies when I need to regen HP if my grenades and skills are down. I also like to pick off parts from the miniguns or the lasers from super far out, so I don't have to get close to those and eat damage on the way in. My favorite upgrade for the cycler is the extra light frame, which allows you to shoot while sprinting, which is insanely handy. If you use player upgrades to increase your run speed, I'm not, but you can, it helps us even more. Sprinting while shooting keeps you safe as enemies can't really catch you or do much to you while you're sprinting, unless they have the miniguns or the lasers, which the SMG is great at shooting them off. But in order to maximize the synergies with the rest of the build, we're going to have to go fire with this SMG, as we do get additional fire damage to our grenade and being ignited. So with the Violent Ignition exotic perk, we can apply fire to all nearby enemies whenever we ignite one. So we're going to need a way to burn enemies, which is great because the cycler can have an ammo mod to basically change the element to whatever you want. And we're going to go with fire, of course. So we're going to be using the intense reaction to double the amount of fire damage we apply per shot to hasten up the application of ignite. And then this is going to give us an insane amount of spread, which isn't good. So the uncommon perk Precision Fire trades some of the fire rate we have for significantly reduced spread. So then we're going to go with 2-shot burst to double our fire application per shot, as well as the rocket burst upgrade to fire 2 rockets off every burst, granting us AoE fire damage, which will also spread to anything nearby, making this a much better weapon for AoE at far ranges, compared to a shotgun at least, as well as making it strong enough to poke enemies from really far range as well. So because of that, the last mod is going to be more range because we need more range. So with all that together, the cycler is going to be our filler gun, so that we use it when the enemies are farther away than our shotgun and we don't want to, be dealt damage on our way in, or if we want to pick off enemies such as fairies or, people with bombs or shield generators or abominations from super far out. Again, it's not our primary source of damage, but it's an amazing weapon to fall back if you need it, and this thing will work on pretty much any build, not just this fire one. So, seriously, if you guys aren't using the cycler, give it a try. Now, lastly, let's go over the character choice, the Wrangler. This setup can be used with any character, of course, as the main components are the synergies between the grenade and the shotgun, but I do like the Wrangler, and he's red. Because we have extra fire damage provided by our fire grenade, we're going to be sticking with that fire theme. So the Through Hell upgrade provides our dash with ignites, so whenever we need to get out of a situation, we can ignite everything behind us. We're also going to be using double dash, because who doesn't want 2 of those? And then playing more into that, we're going to be using powder player, so we can apply fire explosions to ourselves whenever we use the rocket lasso to escape, then double lasso for 2 of those as well. So whenever we need to move, we're igniting everything nearby, which is great. The last 3 upgrades here on our little honeycomb tree are fire resistance, because we will be igniting ourselves a lot with our fire grenades, so we do need to reduce some of that self-damage taken, because it can kill us. Then we're going to have fire affinity to help apply a little bit more fire per shot, which is going to help our shotgun and SMG, because it's not instant ignite, so you have to build it up. And then we're going to have elemental cocktail, which is the icing on the cake. This is going to basically grant us a chance to apply 2 elements at the same time. So we have a 47% chance whenever we ignite something to also shock it for more free dot damage. These come in any combination of elements, so you can get acid too, that's fine. I just have a shock one, so it's not that important. It's just free damage. But whenever we do all these like big AoE fire ignites, we're also getting shocks on a lot of things on top. So pretty much all the smaller grunt enemies get killed via dot damage whenever like we leave with lasso or dash or whatever, or throw a rocket with our SMG. So basically it just lets us deal with the fewer larger enemies, which in my opinion are a lot less threatening than a million little guys. So as I mentioned in my preamble to the builds, like there's going to be some room for tweaking for some upgrades and such. Of course, as more patches come out and adjust things and we get more content, I'm going to need to be updating these builds, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But just saying, I'm going to stick around to update them. But I wanted to make this video as short as possible and just wanted to highlight some synergies that work very well together to give players ideas of what you can build around here in Mycopunk. I have a few other build videos planned, so I'm going to showcase those, so stay tuned for that. But as you can see through all the clips, like I'm doing level 6 missions on, the extreme density. Like I'm dying maybe here or there to some unlucky spawns, but I'm doing just fine. I don't have a problem running this build on anything. It works great. Highly recommend it. So that's going to be all for me. Thank you all for watching, and good luck out there, Myco hunters or whatever. RIP, see ya, bye.